So we're back. Per Bjorn-Roli is kind of giving us a big picture in his opinion and his view of the world and the state economy, a little bit on Anchorage. You're the master. But I kind of want to talk now about stuff I'm a little bit more comfortable with, just the commercial market in Alaska. I mean, and we could give us your views on industrial and office, retail. I'm seeing an uptick in activity, and I'm not sure if it's because I'm working too much or if it's real. So I wrote industrial. So let's start with industrial.
The biggest problem with industrial is that there is not enough of it.
Yeah.
The vacancy rates are likely below 1.5%, and 1.5% is probably on the high side. So from your perspective, what are you going to do? Like how do you meet clients' needs when there's no available spaces to put them into? And of course, as you know, industrial it's not like office where you're fairly interchangeable. You know, you can go build maybe 4 or 5 different buildings would meet your needs. It's, hey, we need yard, we need
clear height.
That's right. This number of dock high distribution doors.
Yeah.
We need this much square footage of shop, this much square footage of office, this much yard space. And wow, like it becomes a very difficult job.
And you can't develop new. I mean, what we see, in my opinion, on new is people building for themselves because they can't find what they need.
All right. So let's talk about developing new.
Let's spec. Okay.
Extremely expensive.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think we can do that.
Industrial, of course, doesn't have the advantage of being able to go vertical.
Right.
So all your development has to be paid for on the ground floor. And as you know, we're out of land here in Anchorage. When we talk about vacant land at Anchorage, we're talking about land that, while vacant, has very high development costs. It has typically poor soil conditions.
Everything that's left is poor soil.
Yes. It has, usually you got to bring some utilities to the area. And of course, you need to put streets and roads in if those are platted. So they're on the, there's right of ways there. You got to develop all those things. So just the site development costs alone on industrial or any type of really commercial or residential use are extremely high. And, when we talk about like high, so let's say that, I'm aware of a commercial transaction, sold for around $11, $12 a square foot, and then had that much in addition
to get it so you could build on it.
Inside development costs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So 50%.
Get rid of the peat, backfill it.
Yeah.
Just all of that. Yeah.
So really difficult. Makes your job very, very difficult.
And then there's whatever you want to call it, all of the permitting and planning through the city that takes so much time. And if it takes time, it takes money. Just slows the project down and adds cost.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, on that note, our permitting process up here it can be challenging for sure.
You're more diplomatic than I am.
Well, I had a developer, major developer, not a local developer, but a national developer, tell me one time that the only other place in the country that was more difficult than Alaska or Anchorage was Hawaii.
Yeah.
Well, when you're being compared with Hawaii, you know that there's
a problem.
There's a problem. So his words, not mine.
No, I agree with that. I see that. So industrial.
It's going to stay tight.
It's going to stay tight.
It's probably going to tighten.
And it's probably going to stay.
And, the chat.
Getting out of your downtown or Anchorage bowl.
Well, it's something, there's a reason that a lot of users are transition, if they can transition their business out to the Matsu Valley.
A lot of trucking companies have already done that.
If you can do it, the economics are attractive, but there's just simply a lot of businesses that no matter what the real estate economics are, they cannot.
Right.
And it's like that, that close in Seattle industrial market where, the industrial land values are extremely high, but people will continue to pay them because they have to be there.
Right. And the thing we do have to remember as well is it's a one-time cost. You're not paying an effective you said $11 for the dirt and then probably another $8. Let's make it easy. So it's 20, $9 to fix it so you can actually develop it. So it's $20 a foot for the dirt you were just talking about, right?
Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm not saying that's example was not an industrial property per se, but
whatever
it is, 50%, if you're dealing with $9 a square foot in development costs, for the site, that's not it's very site specific, as sometimes it's $3 and sometimes it's north of 12.
Right.
$15.
But whatever that number is,
Right.
it's a one-time expense.
It's a one-time expense.
It's important for us to remember that. So yeah, maybe an effective $20 a foot is an outrageous number, but if you want to be in the market with that product, you have to pay that. But you don't pay it every year. You pay it one time. If we keep that in mind, then it makes sense. But sometimes, at least for me and for some of my clients, we get so wrapped up that that's over market. It's over market. Well, I'm not sure that it is. And even if it is, if we need it, we need it. And it's a one-time expense.
So one way to look at it is figure out what the build ready value is. And then from that number, work backwards based on what the site development costs are and whatever as-is number, whatever the as-is value.
Kind of back into it. How does that look?
That is typically, that's the number. We typically don't do a deduction for entrepreneurial incentive for those types of things because, as the market's not requiring, right? Basically, it's like if you can find the site and I got to spend this much to use it, I'll take it. And then they're not requiring, like they don't need your profit on their.
Kind of what I said. It's just a one-time expense.
Yeah. Yeah. But, that's why when you look at the data, if you look at industrial land sales, you have to adjust them for those site development costs. You cannot take the as-is sale price. You've got to figure out and then end up with the build ready value, and then you now analyze that.
Exactly. Just like when you're doing mobile home parks, or I've got an older office building downtown that I'm contemplating demoing it, and then just using that raw land for something else.
Right.
So then that effective price on that raw land, or the effective price on a mobile home park, to get it down to raw land, you have to include the cost of demo. You have to, otherwise it's not a real number.
Yeah, so we typically will do a deduction for demo if the highest and best use is actually to remove the improvements.
Introduce something else.
A lot of times we see this, right, where you've got something that contributes no value, but it's an interim use.
Yes.
And then we won't do a deduction for demolition because typically the market says, oh, hey, it's got an old house on it, but I'm going to, I'll rent it for 5 years or whatever until I develop it. And they don't do a deduction initially. And then they just, they buy it without the demolition. But if it's going to be torn down and it's a cost, then you have to reflect that.
Yep. Yeah. Redeveloping mobile home parks, same thing. You got to factor all of that in.
So industrial is one of those markets where probably, in terms of transaction volume, we're not going to see a lot of real big adjustments in transaction volume, even though the market is probably going to tighten. And the reason for that is there's just a lack of product. That's an easy one.
Okay. How about this?
What's next?
Office. And when I say office, I'm thinking Class A, but understand that, there's all these different classifications of office. So wherever you want to start.
Yeah, office is complicated because our market, like the national market, is experiencing deep technological changes that are transitioning a lot of different things. Digitalization of the workforce and working from home, and these trends are real. But in terms of the real numbers, the Alaska office market, the vacancy rates are dramatically lower than national levels.
Right. Right.
And, that's going to continue to happen. In fact, we'll probably see some, positive absorption over the next year and maybe a little bit of downward pressure on vacancy rates.
I like that you said that. And I want to finish up with office and retail. But I'd like to come back to nationally because I get a lot of calls from brokers outside of Alaska. And the first thing they say is, well, I saw this on whatever the national MLS is. CoStar, thank you. I saw this on CoStar and, so basically I know everything about your market. So I'd like to come back to that topic, but let's finish up with office and retail.
Yeah, so Class A, I think, is tighter than Class B. B is going to have a little bit higher vacancy rates, a little more availability. And then certain parts of B will even be a little bit, or were a little soft. And like I said, that's been changing, but A is, it's performed pretty well. And there's not,
because B, a lot of B tenants want to be in a different class of office. So they're leaving if they can cut a deal to get into A, they are, which leaves a little bit of hole. Because what we don't have is we don't have new tenants coming in, that many. So we've got kind of musical offices. So if we take them out of B, we're going to have a hole in B, but we'll fill up space in A.
Yeah. And I think, to a certain extent, what's happened is that the definition of Class A in Anchorage has changed dramatically over the last 10, 15 years. Whereas what used to be considered Class A is no longer really Class A. And so
for Anchorage, it's Class A, but nowhere else in the world.
Yeah. And so there's been, as that's happened, you've seen, that Class A has kind of pulled up this other tendency. And then the Class B market has been, kind of the product segment that's had the higher levels of vacancy and everything. But by national standards, both are still way below national vacancy.
Vacancies, yeah.
And, I see nothing that suggests that the market won't continue to be healthy and stable. I think it's going to tighten up a little bit in 2026, just because we see that the office market does tend to correlate pretty highly with changes within the oil sector and the oil business. We're cyclical in that respect. And definitely that part of the market's tightening too. So I think that bodes well for office probably in 2026.
I see that. And what I see is people going back to the office to work.
So that's
I see that happening. And I see, just because of technology, you might not need a 12 by 12 office. You see that a lot with law offices. They don't need as big an office as they once needed, even for the same number of employees, but they all want private. And a lot of the companies I do work for see value in going back to the office. Billable hours are better. It's just more work is getting done.
I think nationally that companies have figured out that the model is basically you have to have an office.
Yeah.
People work at the office. And then what you do is you offer, work from home is like
a day or two.
It's like a perk.
Yeah.
Right? And you're not going to have it all the time, but if you add this in, but it depends specifically on the business.
Business and the employee. And that's a hard thing to say everybody gets it, because some employees are going to watch cat videos and others are going to.
It depends on the job. It depends on, what you're doing. And it's like anything else. But I think that there has been a lot of that, return to work here in the last year.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Smaller spaces for sure.
Yeah.
Employees are, this office size, the typical office size.
We have a law library that is inside of your laptop now. We don't have, a room.
Footprints are decreasing. What's interesting is that there was a time period, and there probably continues to be, where a lot of tenants have excess space. But so far, there's been definitely some contraction where they renegotiate a little bit smaller space than they had before. But a lot of them just stay in that same footprint.
Yeah, it's cheaper than having downtime of moving. It gives them more flexibility. So no, I think I see that too.
Yeah.
For if you take a minute in time and say that's the norm, that's what it is, it might be too much space, but it's cheaper than moving, cheaper than all of that other stuff. So
there's certain portfolios around town where certain buildings, they don't have any vacancy at all.
Yeah.
And when they get vacancy, they lease up right away. So, we've seen many times in the past, and we say this anytime we speak publicly, but because of this exact issue, that it is very property specific.
Oh, absolutely.
The market is made up of these individual markets, right? And the market for building A can be very different than it is for building B, and can be very different if you're looking for very specific qualities as a tenant.
Exactly.
As you know, like if you say, what do you want? And someone gives you a little punch list of like, these are things I want. And by when they started, there was maybe 20 buildings. And by the time they get done with that list, you're like,
well,
there's two.
We're going to go into CoStar after this discussion, but that's the problem with CoStar. You don't know any of that.
Yeah.
You don't have any idea why this building is so different than this building A is so different than building B.
Right.
Because CoStar doesn't know how to do that.
Right.
So, okay. Retail. I do a fair amount of work with national retailers, and it takes them years to make a decision. I put a lot of them in different spots around the state, and it takes years for them to come up with a decision. But now, all of a sudden, within the last 8 months, they're making trips to Alaska again. And if they come in the winter, I know they're serious. Haven't got any letters of intent executed, but I'm starting to see VPs of real estate come up and re-kick the tires. What do you see in retail?
So the retail market is highly segmented, meaning it's very hard to even discuss it as a monolithic single thing, because there's a lot of different trends within various different segments. So in terms of big boxes, I don't think there's very strong demand for what we have now. And those retailers are overall
the big box
very
we're
healthy.
done. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's probably not going to be, any big additions to our market, I would imagine. And I'd say that's consistent with national trends. Who's here is who's here.
Right.
They're likely going to stay. There could be a one-off where there's some mid-box type vacancy and possibly somebody comes in that's new to the market. But what we've seen is the things that we've had that have come up have been absorbed by the existing retailers.
Right. Exactly.
So Costco says, well, let's do we'll have a business location or whatever. So I don't see any, big changes there in terms.
Like the Sears building in Wasilla. I've mentioned that before, Sears, Walmart did it, and then I sold it to Sears, and then it was a national thing. Sears ended up selling it, couldn't lease it for site-specific reasons. It was on the ground lease. And it sold to a strong local businessman.
Yeah.
And he's filled it up with his own businesses.
Yeah. So I think that area will, what's here is going to be in strong demand.
Yeah.
They're all doing very well, I think, but probably not a lot of new demand. And then in terms of, let's talk about, smaller inline type product,
right?
Neighborhood commercial, I think is going to do very well.
The strip centers. That's what you're talking.
Neighborhood strip centers will do very, very well.
Right.
I think that is going to continue to be really tight down in South Anchorage, niche areas. That part of the market has done really well. I think it's going to continue to do really well. It'll probably tighten some over the next year. Vacancy rates will probably be stable or maybe even go down. First of all, there's not that much vacancy
on well-located properties. I agree. There isn't.
When you get into a little bit more of the fishbowl, we were talking about more community center type inline. It's still a pretty competitive market.
It's competitive. Depending on the retailer, sometimes the location is great. Even the business model or the business type is good. Whatever their product is necessary, but they just don't have a good business model. I see a lot of retailers going in. It might be their first venture in their own self-employment, and they expect to hire it all out, and that doesn't usually work. And then, if you're going to open up a business, you kind of have to work it for a while. And in my experience, I can see when they don't, it doesn't last as long as their savings account.
Well, I guess that's the dream, right? Is always to
but
kind of get it up and running and then let it run itself. The problem is it doesn't.
But you have to get it up and running.
And even then, they're right. They typically don't run themselves.
No, this all looks easy when someone else is doing it.
It looks real easy, yeah. But I think it's always difficult, right?
Yeah.
So, but no, I think overall the big immediate impacts from the .com and the Amazon effect, those have played out gradually over a 20-year period now.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that isn't going to continue to affect the market, but
the casualties have already been taken.
Yeah. I mean, I think the market is stabilized now in a lot of ways. And
I agree.
You could put it maybe this way, like, okay, maybe the market won't return to the place where there's the sales are strong enough and to justify new construction. But for those retailers that have boots on the ground and they got bricks and mortar, they understand that their retail space is really a warehouse. Right. And they understand that their internet strategy mixes and is complementary of one another to have the bricks and the mortar and the internet together. And that's definitely the way things have been going. Like if you look at Costco and Walmart, those I believe are probably the two biggest competitors to Amazon on the planet.
Right.
In terms of online sales.
Exactly.
And they're doing a great job at, having you can get this at the store right now. I mean, Lowe's too, right? I mean, Home Depot, like pretty much you go online now and it'll say pick up right now, delivery
right now,
or you could order it online. And
I might be old school. I definitely am old school, but I don't I don't shop Amazon. I can tell you that I've never shopped Amazon. And it's because I talk a lot and I support the people that support me. And Mr. Bezos hasn't ever called me on the phone once and asked me for space. So I don't, if I have to wait for a week for a pair of size 5 shoes, which I do, because you can't find them in Anchorage, I'll wait.
I like to buy local.
Me too.
It is not an issue of, first of all, the prices are almost the same for most things. You might pay a little bit of a premium in certain instances, but it's nothing that, it's going to give you any grief. The only limiting factor that for me, because I want to be honest, is time. I do not have time to run all over town. I have had no time at all between, I'm raising kids and I'm, running my business and everything. And I had no time left over. And so for that reason, Amazon's really easy because I think of it and I click.
But I shop online.
Yeah.
But I shop at Costco. I don't shop at Walmart. But I shop online for dress shops, whatever, Nordstrom's. But they have brick and mortar here.
Absolutely. And same, but we, all those places. And like I said, if we're able to do local, that's really what you want to do is just
as much as you can.
Yeah, as much as you can. But, what I would like to see happen, and I had this idea, and I'll put it out there now, and you can do something with it, or maybe someone else.
If it's a good idea, I'll steer.
Look, there's no reason that every local business, I don't care what type of business they're in, whether it's a service or, if you got a shop that's selling something, shouldn't tie their inventories together. And then when someone places, I want to order something online, now inventory of product includes all of the footprint of all these local retailers.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I can now buy that product locally from the local warehouse, which is just the store.
Right.
With the storefront for, mom and pop shop. But hey, if they have it, then it's a warehouse.
Right.
And if it's a warehouse, then you should be able to purchase it online. And the only reason that hasn't happened is because individually, none of them can put this together to do it.
Yeah.
Right. But as a group, if somebody came up with that business model, then it would work. In fact, for that matter, even Amazon could do it. Every retailer could sign up on Amazon. And so when you buy a product, that product could be sourced locally just as easily as it could be sourced out of a warehouse in Seattle or, the Amazon warehouse here in Anchorage.
Because when I go online and look for whatever it is I'm looking for, because for the ease of it, I want it delivered to my house or the office. The internet takes me to Amazon. Well, you can buy this hair product at online directly from the manufacturer, or you could buy it from Amazon, or you could buy it from Target.
Yeah, but meanwhile, every single Haircuts Plus place, right? Or Great Clips is what I'm thinking of, right? Every Great Clips has a wall filled of hair products that you could have access to, except they're not locationally plugged in digitally.
Yes,
Yet.
Because it's a small guy.
Yeah, but if you could, as a small guy, move your inventory to online, and then since you've moved your inventory online, everybody now has access to buy that product from you.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the name of the food place off the top of my head that does all the delivery of food?
Yeah.
So I'm saying is DoorDash, except do it on a larger retail basis. In fact, DoorDash could literally do it.
Actually, DoorDash does deliver stuff from other places.
Yeah, they do food.
Well, I order Lucky Wishbone every once in a while and place your order, and then 10 minutes later they say, "Do you want to have a carton of ice cream from Walmart or Walgreens?"
Lucky Wishbone. We talked about Perfect Cup. Okay, now you hit on my other favorite restaurant. That is one of the greatest restaurants in the whole country.
The whole country.
It is a wonderful place. Talk about nostalgic.
Yeah.
An amazing place.
I agree.
A place that you could go for many, many years and
you're just happy.
See the owner and then you see him out on the Deshka fishing.
Yeah. I love George and Peggy. Okay.
Okay, so that's what I got for retail.
I appreciate that. I like your insight. I wanted to go back to CoStar and some of the other internet MLSs, whatever you want to call those.
So, yeah, CoStar is amazing.
It's an MLS.
It's basically an MLS, but Alaska's a non-disclosure state, so we use it.
Yeah.
It's a great starting place. It's a great resource to make sure you've covered, quote unquote, covered the market. But
it's a starting point. I like the way you said starting, and I think that's important to drive forward.
The problem is that it's just not accurate when it comes to what's available, what the vacancy rates are. Quite honestly, there's a tremendous amount of information on it that's just not right. I'm not knocking CoStar. I think they're a great product.
It's a tool.
I'd buy their stock or consider buying it. But the point is like, it's a great company. But as in non-disclosure state, the information comes through the brokers, and the brokers don't want to do business with CoStar because CoStar is simply turning around and they're literally giving all that information away to all the competitors of the brokers. So they create the facade of having all this information and this great information. But the truth is they're not getting the information that's accurate and reliable for these different segments. And the dangerous part is when someone calls us and they've got access to CoStar and they think they've got access to the Alaska market, and then they tell their client they're a user or whatever, and they think they've got the information, and they don't. They do not have it. And I've seen, many situations where people have made, bad decisions off of that bad information.
Right.
They believe it's, CoStar says right on their side, they say, look, we believe this information is correct, but they can only do what they can do.
Well, it's only as good as what's put in.
Well, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah. Yeah. And personally, I don't disclose price. If I don't own the building.
Yes, you do.
I tell an appraiser.
You will tell.
On the telephone.
Not just an appraiser. You will tell certain appraisers.
Exactly right.
And
I just don't put it out on a mass because it's not my information.
That's right.
And we're not a disclosure city.
Right.
Or state. So if you disclose the price, all that, I'm not sure that you want the taxing entities to know what you paid for. It's not my information to give out.
That's
so
right.
I don't give out that information.
And that's the case
and
with
if the buyer or seller wants to, that's your business.
That's
not
the case
my
goes to the brokers. And so, you'll share it with us because you know that we're not posting it on.
And we're reputable.
Yeah, we're protecting that.
Yeah.
We use it, but it remains something that is treated carefully as it should be. But in terms of, what goes into CoStar, once it's in CoStar, it's available to the entire world, right?
Yeah.
So they're just not able in a non-disclosure state. And I'm not speaking to, by the way, some of the other markets in the country, which are disclosure. For example, Washington State's a disclosure state. I expect that probably it's a very different scenario down there.
Right. We're just talking about Alaska.
But up here, it's the best thing you can say about it is a starting point.
Yeah.
Now, are we glad that we have it? Absolutely.
Okay.
Is it a place where you definitely want to dot your I's, cross your T's, make sure you've got everything in the marketplace, and CoStar is your insurance to have that? Absolutely. We use it. When we're doing a Class A office building in Anchorage here, we're doing a search on CoStar.
Yeah.
And just seeing if there's
something that I missed.
Yeah, something we missed, and then a lot of times we'll see something on there that says it's a sale, and we'll chase it down, and we'll learn it's not even a sale. And we're like, how does it even end up on CoStar that way?
Right.
Like, and the owners tell us like, no, we haven't sold anything. And we're like going, well, it says here you did. Vacancy rates, rents, it's not accurate.
Right.
So my advice, and I say this all the time and continue to say it, is to our clients is this is a relationship driven state. It's about finding the right person that has the right access to the information. And that's what it's all about. And in your job, the first thing you do as a lower 48 investor or decision maker is you have to find the access, that person.
Yep.
No, not guy, Lottie.
Well, I say it because I'm female. I don't have to say female, man or woman. I just say person. Okay. I just say guy because
I'm just teasing you because I know that's one of your pet peeves.
I don't like it.
I love it. Make sure that ends up in the video.
She
said guy. Did you hear that?
When I was president of the Anchorage Board of Realtors, this woman came and said, "Oh, we need to have women realtors. It's a national thing."
True.
And I said, "No, not while I'm president board." I said, you can do anything when I'm not president, but I've worked too hard to be treated equally to now be on top and say, okay, now we're going to separate women from men. No. We're all on the same playing field. So
Don't
I
keep going.
I do say, yeah.
I'm trying to stay off my soapbox and stay, on track here.
Do you agree with me?
On what?
On everything, I'm always right.
On most things.
Okay. But I mean, on that, it's just, we're one. I don't want to be separated.
Look, I think that you're brilliant, and you can quote me on that.
My mother started that rumor.
No, you're very good at what you do. You're on this. There's. I tell people this all the time. There might be 100 brokers in Alaska, or whatever the number is, and then you get down to the ones that are really, really, really know their stuff, and it becomes a pretty short list. You're on that list.
Thank you.
So you are, and you're really good at what you do. I don't know. I mean, it's never even occurred to me that you're a woman or
exactly.
Now I haven't.
What does it mean?
Well, it shouldn't make any difference. Right. I don't believe it does. Now that might be, I'm a guy, but I've never thought that way in terms of business. And I like talking to people
that know their stuff.
That know their stuff and are sharp, and you know your stuff and you're sharp. So
you're familiar with this property. I'm involved with property that has some contamination issues.
And I know a little bit about that.
Yeah, I know you do. So anyway, I was interviewing environmental engineering firms, and the first firm that I wanted thought it was going to be a real small project. So she was pushing me off. It was the owner's daughter, and she was introducing me to this other environmental firm. And the new firm kept saying, well, I'm woman-owned. I'm a woman-owned business. Finally, I said, you know what, Gloria, please, let's not talk about that. I don't care about that. And I think she was a bit offended, but we got along after that. I mean, but I don't care about that.
Yeah, it shouldn't matter.
Yeah. So,
but now, to your credit, though, let's back up for a second. When you started in business,
54 years ago.
54 years ago, Lottie.
Well, in 2 weeks.
It wasn't that way.
No. It was never that.
And that's where, I think.
Wake up.
Well, it's changed. I believe it has. But I think that in fairness, women that started in business when you did have a particular, I think you guys can be proud of yourselves, because I think it was difficult back then.
But I didn't know anything else. I mean, I didn't did that. I had a baby.
Did that help?
That I didn't know? Oh, yeah.
I mean, it really doesn't that make all the difference in the world?
Yeah, no one ever told me I couldn't do it.
Right.
So I just did it.
And that's one of the keys in life.
Yeah.
Is just don't know.
Stop the noise.
Yeah, just don't know you can't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, as you know, whatever the percentages and the ratios are, nobody's going to stop you if you just keep going. And
yeah, just do it.
Yeah, and you didn't stop.
No.
And nobody could tell you no. You were gonna do what you're gonna do. And
yeah, those are fun days. It's still fun days. So I'm still doing it.
So yeah, that's my short answer to your.
So CoStar is a very good tool, but it's not the Bible. It's not the end all.
You gotta have a local relationship. You have to have a resource. Like I said, non-disclosure state. Anybody who is sophisticated in this town is, and I'm talking about the wealthiest property owners and the smartest investors. They're all working with brokers.
Oh yeah.
Everybody up here uses brokers. They use local brokers. You can. It's not that, you can't use a national broker, but the national broker has to have access to this market.
And the national broker is going to find a local broker. So I get a lot of calls from brokers.
Absolutely. The bottom line is that they have to plug in with a local broker. They have to. So is that it?
I think that's it.
Okay. Well,
thank you very much. I'm going to book now that I know that you'll do this. I'm going to call you in 6 months and ask you to come back.
Well, maybe next year.
Okay, maybe next.
I might not. Don't call me in the summertime, right?
Fishing and hunting, and
I'm not available for interviews in July or August or even June.
Okay, I'll call you.
I'm just telling you right now.
Between season.
You're great, but
I'm more of a shoulder season type of.
You can book me in the fall, you can book me in the winter, and you can book me in the spring, but don't book me during fishing season.
Okay.
Or flying season. I'm going to be at the river or the lake or someplace happy.
Okay. Per, thank you very much.
Okay.
Seriously.
Hopefully it turns out okay.
It's all going to turn out fine.
All right.
Life works.